Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, everybody. Welcome back to the channel and welcome to Season 4, Episode 20 of the Classic Wrestling Series. Now, we have taken a bit of a hiatus on this channel, and yes, it has been quite a few weeks since a CWS episode. I'm not going to lie, I've actually been catching up with some wrestling in my spare time. Yes, there is no Great American Bash review for NXT, there is no Evolution 2 review, and there is definitely not going to be an All in Texas review. I actually watched them as a fan, and I kind of enjoyed it, to be fair, so I've needed a little bit of a break. And we are now back with WCW's Beach Blast from 1992. This is going to be interesting because I've never seen this show, so we're in for a treat. And, well, it is technically still the first week of summer as I am recording this, because this is pre-recorded. All my episodes are pre-recorded. And, yeah, you know what? I fancied watching Beach Blast because it was, like, the first thing that I saw on the channel, on the WCW's YouTube channel. I was like, I want to watch that. So, we have Tony Schiavone, a young Tony Schiavone, and a young Eric Bischoff on commentary. This is going to be interesting. We have Bill Watts, I believe he was the WCW commissioner at the time in 1992, talking about a couple of matches that are happening. We've got Sting versus Cactus Jack in a Falls Count Anywhere in the Gulf area match. A bit of a random one. We have Ricky the Dragon Steamboat versus Rick Rude. I'm actually looking forward to that match. That's going to be interesting. And we also have a World Tag Team title match. So, hey, Jim Ross, a young Jim Ross as well. Jeez Louise, this is going to be interesting. So, let's not waste any more time and get to our opening contest of the night. So, we just had our first contest for the Light Heavyweight Championship of the World in WCW. Flying Brian Pillman versus Scotty Flamingo, better known as Raven. What the fuck? This was a really fun matchup. I actually enjoyed it. I thought it was really great. This was a interesting mix of styles because this is around the time in WCW where doing moves from the top rope is banned. So the high flyers of WCW had a bit of a problem with the top, not being able to use the top rope. But this was really fun. It was interesting as all hell. And it was just a fun matchup in general to see Flying Brian Pillman and Scotty Flamingo go at it one-on-one. This was a fun matchup. Scotty was the heel going into it, so he was using dirty tactics. He was also doing things that I don't normally see that often now, and it was actually really cool. Like, he used the rope, he put his foot on the rope twice to gain a leverage and a submission, but then didn't do it the third time to get caught. I liked that. I think that was a really good idea. This was really fun. It was entertaining. It was a great matchup. And again, this whole pay-per-view is on YouTube, so I'll have the link in the description below. Yes, there is a bikini contest throughout the show, so this is going to be a bit of annoying. So we'll skip the first part and we'll get to our second match of the night. So we just had Ron Simmons versus the Tailor-Made Man, better known as Terry Taylor. This was basically just a showcase for Ron Simmons. This was just Ron Simmons received the key to the city in Tallahassee, Florida. So this was basically just this is a big man. He is going to be the next WCW champion. Let's just give him a platform to kick into somebody nicely. So this was entertaining. It was a fun matchup. Don't get me wrong. It was good. We are having an interview with Jim Ross and Ron Simmons to basically talk about why he is going for the WCW World Championship. And he does successfully gain the WCW World Championship, becoming one of the first black men to actually become a world champion in a wrestling organization in around the 90s on a major TV station. So we will get to our next matchup in just a moment. So we just had Greg the Hammer Valentine versus Marcus Buffalo. There we go, Marcus Buffalo. This was a fun little matchup. It was entertaining. It was the veteran versus the newbie, the rookie. This was entertaining. It was a fun little matchup. Greg getting the win is a bit of a head scratcher, but he did win with a submission, so kind of made sense a little bit. But yeah, fun little matchup. So our next is going to be Cactus Jack and Sting in a Falls Count Anywhere match. Let's get to this one. This is going to be entertaining. Oh, Sting is the WCW World Champion. So why are they putting on my... Okay, this is weird. Why are they putting Sting in the middle of the card? He's the World Champ. Makes no sense. Okay. Well, anyway, it's Sting versus Cactus Jack, so let's get to it. So we just had Sting versus Cactus Jack in the Falls Count Anywhere match. And this wasn't a typical Falls Count... Well, it was a typical Falls Count Anywhere match. It was more set around ringside and stuff like that. The addition of having no mat made every move that these guys did look really painful, which is a good thing, in my opinion. It was very entertaining. It was a fun little matchup, and, you know, the moves hit harder. Yes, Sting did go to the top rope, but again, no disqualification, so he could do. So yeah, it kind of does limit the wrestlers in a lot of their abilities to not use the top rope in normal matches. It kind of does just limits them a little bit, but this is still a very entertaining matchup moving forward. And yes, this was non-title. Sting is the WCW World Heavyweight Champion, but it was a non-title match, which Jesse the Body Ventura was like, why would you do this? Why would you get in a ring with a madman like this, you idiot? So our next matchup is the Iron Man Challenge. It is Rick Rude versus Ricky the Dragon Steamboat. And Rick Rude is the WCW US Heavyweight Champion. Let's get to this one. I don't think the US title's on the line, but let's get to it. We just had Ricky Steamboat versus Rick Rude in the Iron Man match. This was a fun little matchup. It's Rick Rude and Steamboat in '92. This is fucking good. I'm not gonna lie, chat. This was a great matchup between both men. Steamboat wins 4-3. I'm not gonna spoil how Ricky Steamboat gets the win. They do tie it up 3-3, but I'm not going to spoil it for you. If you want to watch it, I'll have the link in the description and in the annotation right there if you want to go check it out. But yeah, really fun matchup, entertaining, and yeah, you know, it was just really fun. So our next matchup is going to be Dustin Rhodes, Barry Windham, and Nikolai Koloff taking on the Dangerous Alliance. Let's get to this one. My God, we have Bobby Eaton, Arn Anderson, and a blonde, stunning Steve Austin. I forgot Austin had hair in WCW 92. I completely forgot. Holy shit. So yeah, it is the six-man tag, so let's get to this one. So we just the six-man tag with the Dangerous Alliance and Nikita Koloff, Dustin Rhodes, and Barry Windham. There we go. I had to think about, had to double check who it was then for a second. This was fun. Like, this was an interesting six-man tag. The story going into it is Barry Windham is chasing Austin for the World Television Championship, so they're having a six-man tag basically to just get people on the card. This was entertaining. Like, this was a really fun six-man tag. The rule about wrestlers going onto the top rope had just been introduced, and wrestlers still were trying to work it out and stuff like that. But this was a fun little matchup. It was entertaining. Obviously, Arn Anderson goes to the top rope, jumps off, gets caught by Ole Anderson, who is the kayfabe brother of Arn. But at the end of the day, this is the way that the team of Koloff, Windham, and Rhodes win. It is going to be a bit annoying. It is one of those. You just have to get to the point of it and, you know, deal with it. But it was a fun little matchup whilst it lasted. We have Eric Bischoff talking with Ricky the Dragon Steamboat, which was entertaining. And we are going to have our main event of the evening. It is going to be the Steiner Brothers versus Terry Gordy and Dr. Death Steve Williams for the World Television, the World Tag Team titles. Let's get to our main event. So we just had Terry Gordy and Dr. Death Steve Williams versus the Steiner Brothers for the World Tag Team titles. This was great. I actually really liked this main event. It was so all four men are collegiate wrestlers, so they just brought that to the mat, and they basically just went for the first 10 minutes. It was just like, fuck it, let's have a bit of a fuck around and find out moment, you know, wrestle. This was great. I loved this matchup. This was a really awesome main event. I enjoyed it. It did go to a time limit draw, but I think that works in its favour, in my opinion, because it just goes to show that Terry Gordy and Dr. Death Steve Williams can go toe-to-toe with not only the Steiner brothers, but also the WCW Tag Team Champions. Yes, Terry Gordy and Dr. Death would have more success in Japan than America, especially with Dr. Death, Steve Williams. Jesus Christ, it's the Japanese wrestling legend over in Japan for Dr. Death. But this was just an amazing main event. I thought this was a really fun matchup. It was really good, really brilliant. Just the wrestling in general was just so good, and I really want to see if these two have a rematch, because if they do, absolutely amazing. This was a great matchup, really good. And again, I will have the link in the annotation right there if you want to check it out for yourself, because this is a really good pay-per-view, I'm not gonna lie, from WCW. So in general, what did I think? I loved it. I thought this was a really fun matchup. It was a fun show. The best match of the night has to be the Steiners versus Terry Gordy and Steve Williams. I genuinely loved it. I thought it was really fun. Underrated sleeper? I don't know, with Scotty Flamingo versus Brian Pillman. That was an interesting matchup that I did not expect for it to be part of. It was really cool. I enjoyed it. So, with that being said, thank you very much for joining me for the CWS Season 4 Episode 20. Hope you had a lovely time watching it. And I will be back hopefully next week with the next episode. But for now, TTFN. Ta-ta for now.